Computex 2026. We're honored to be invited here at the MSI headquarters in Taipei, in which they're launching one of their latest products, the Claw 8 EX AI Plus. We're going to be talking to Joseph, product marketing engineer, about the different challenges they had to overcome to deliver such a great product. This product implements the Intel Arc G-Series processor from the Panther Lake architecture. And then we're going to be talking about the different things when it comes to power, thermals, and performance. So join us here today. My name is Alejandro Hoyos, and this is Talking Tech. Okay, so right now we're here with Joseph. Hey Joseph, how you doing?
How are you doing?
Doing great, thank you. What do you do here at MSI?
Currently, I'm working as a product manager in MSI for especially this time for our very new handheld device called 8 EX AI Plus.
MSI has a big history when it comes to handhelds, right? So this is your third iteration of the Claw.
Exactly.
Tell us a little bit about that evolution from the first one all the way to this one that we have today.
Whoa, that's a long story. I believe that we're starting with the handheld Claw devices. I think starting with Intel Core Ultra 100.
Oh, 100.
Yeah,
yes.
that's the first device that stand for 7-inch devices there. So at that time, I believe that we know. I mean, for the gamer, for the story that when we know that the Steam launched their first Steam Deck handheld devices, so every enthusiast gamer have the expectation that finally they can bring the AAA gaming experience to the device. So that's the beginning when MSI working with Intel trying to bring the whole new gaming experience to the handheld. And about 3 years ago?
Yeah, about 3 years ago. Yeah, I think the first one was with Meteor Lake, which was the internal name of it, and then you have done 3 iterations, and now we're here with the Claw 8 EX, which is amazing. So pretty excited to have it.
Yeah, we do.
So this is you guys took a lot of feedback from the previous ones, and now you have a new processor, a whole new things that you want to improve on to.
Yeah.
What were some of the challenges that you guys kind of run into?
For every platform, every new design platform, always a challenge for us because every platform has its characteristic, parameters all different. But for the Claw, for handheld devices, the biggest challenge always coming from the gameplay times for that. Since that we are not talking about a very lightweight 2Ds and running on the device. Everybody expecting extremely AAA running a lot of power, a lot of computing power on it, and still need to hosting for long gameplay for that.
Right.
So first of all, that's the big battery already take the very big placement inside of system. It's also have the limitation for all of the board design of the. So we're taking a lot of time. We come with Intel all together, engineer team, how to place the right where the location of the processor, where the location of the DRAM, and rest of others. Then they need to slot it into this device, and we also need to want to make it lighter.
Right. That makes sense. Yeah, so, when you hold it in your hand for so long that you just, it's a good workout, but you still want to keep it playing for hours.
Exactly. Yeah.
So it's pretty interesting. So you said that you want to play these AAA titles, so you want to make sure that, those are very demanding. So the battery takes a lot of space. So that's one thing. The other thing is that because they have a high performance, you also, I guess we were talking earlier about the thermals, and you guys make some changes on the thermals on that side. Can you tell us a little bit more on that?
Yeah. So for the people who are familiar with the Intel processor, that in the current product what we sell right now, the Core 8 based on the Lunar Lake Intel 200V series, that is it's delivered a very, very power efficient on that moment when this processor goes to the market. So when Intel launched the Panther Lake, which is the Intel 300 series earlier in this year to the market, that people knows, the power consumption, it's in somewhat higher than the Lunar Lake, things that they are totally in a very different architecture there. But under the developing of the process, that we found this is a very impressive process. Although it need more thermal works to help with the display to cooling the system more efficient, but in the end, I would say it was very impressive on the power efficiency to even deliver more gameplay on the same setting compared to the current cloud what we have right now. So we will be very confident on this product when it goes to the market.
That's amazing. Yeah, so we're showing here like how the thermals design has changed So you can show like on my hands, I have the one from the Claw 8, so the previous one, and this is what you have. You guys have the redesign, so you can see. Well, tell us a little bit on the changes that you guys have done.
Yeah, actually, both of the architecture is all also work with Intel. I mean, Easter Lake. So it kind of intra-flow to the inside, try to cool it all of the key area of the processor and all the like MOSFETs. Out of that. So in the new design, you can see that we changed the both the fans and the pipe all together to fit into the Panther Lake. What the Panther Lake needs the totally different characteristics in terms of the thermal needs of these platforms here. So you can see, let's say. For the pipe of the width of the pipe, you can see it's become larger than that. In terms that we want in the beginning, we want this system stand for higher TDP. I mean, more power compared to the Lunar Lake. They need to be more powerful than the Lunar Lake. But in the end, we saw the result of the frame per second. It's pretty impressive, and well, it's not like the laptop gen to gen. It's a big jump.
It's a big jump on that.
Generation.
No, that's pretty impressive. Yeah, because you guys are now dealing with a little bit different of TDPs and different changes. But it's good to see like the new thermal that you guys have designed in order to account for that. You know, because we're looking for more performance and a better experience when it comes to frames per second. And you were saying earlier also that you guys have to kind of redesign the motherboard, do different things. And then we were talking about like how you guys had to come up with the new idea of put like here's the RAM, put the RAM in the back. Can you tell us a little bit more on that?
Okay, so usually when we for design for a motherboard, the ideal way is always putting the processor and the RAM. This is all the key component in the same side. But to consider the limited placement of the handheld, we don't want to keep it more handy and not to become too fat.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So you need to consider all the weights, all the dimensions together. So there's a big, battery just in this place. So in this way, it's limited the space that when we want to put the DRAM and the CPU in the same side. So we are working with Intel closely to have using a very different place, which is putting the DRAM in the back sides here. So this is not only efficient in the placement of in the PCB, and it's also helping us to improve all of the thermal consideration in airflow inside to dissipate all of the heats outside of the system here, and still have the capacity to put the SSD just above the CPU, and it's when user just open the back door of the system and they can do the SSD upgrade by themselves. Yeah,
that's awesome. Actually, that's pretty cool that actually they can do the upgrade on their own if you want something bigger. Also, it just reminds me how challenging it is, because you have to put, this is obviously this is a lot smaller than a laptop, but you still have the same constraints and the same, you have to make the same considerations that you do for the laptop, which is power, heat, and all that's the performance. So and you don't want to make it like ergonomics. So ergonomics plays a big thing, because you don't want it, like you said, you don't want it too thick in order to be comfortable on the hands.
Right.
So let's talk a little bit about ergonomics. So you guys, I've seen that you have like different mock-ups. So tell me the story on the ergonomics and what has changed from the previous one.
All right. So first thing we decided, we still stick with the 8-inch display. We are really believing into the 8-inch is more ideal for most, especially for the enthusiast AAA gamers here. So we can see that, for example, like Sony or the Nintendo, they all moving from their original 7-inch to the 8-inch display. And we've checked several opinions from gamers, from the customers, even from reviewers. They really appreciate the 8-inch selections here. So we still keep using the 8-inch in these generations. So when the display is decided, then rest of others, how do we, what kind of the controllers type we want to make. So actually, this type of controller is not starting. It's not starting in this generation. Even after we done the first generation, which is 7-inch, then we started thinking about, do we need to keep this system in the round type and in more compact, or we need to head in more like Xbox controller grip inside?
Yeah. Like
so original idea is very easy. in the beginning, we just want to take, because we are Stanford Windows.
Right.
So, and most of games, they recognize the Xbox controller as the most comfortable and most durable design across all of the controllers in the market. So original idea is very easy. Just cut the controller in half and just stick into the display. Then that would done all of the idea here. But in this way, you will see that the thickness of the system, even in the final part of that, is stand for different, because we need to slot in more component, no matter SSD, no matter speakers, batteries all together. So in the final, that is become to the shape like this. We want the gamers hold this handheld as the most comfortable ways.
Right.
So using these angles on this way to hold this system as long as possible to keep it, because compared to the Switch or the Steam Deck, this is not it's still a little bit heavier than that one. So we spend time to how to make a shape to make this gamer can hold this device as comfortable as they want, so they can hold longer and longer.
I'm an owner of the previous generation, the Claw 8, and I can tell you right away when the first time I grabbed this, it felt a lot lighter and a lot of grippier, which I really like, which is good. And like you said, the grip and the ergonomics, it's amazing all the good work that you guys have done, because it fits a lot better, so much easier on your hands. And also I can see the triggers also have changed a little bit. And you also guys changed the analog sticks, which seems a little bit more responsive, and I really like the way they do. And it's pretty impressive because, like you said, you have to account for the battery and all these other things that you have done with this. So I love the product. Can't wait to play with it.
Thank you.
Can you tell us a little bit more about the performance when it comes to this device?
When we started the project, usually when we think about gen-to-gen performance, we always talk about like 20, 30% gen-to-gen. It will be very impressive gen-to-gen.
Right.
But this is really all of our expectations there. We never think about this will become the first handheld devices to achieve AAA at 120 frames per second.
Wow.
Yeah, we already select the display as a 120 hertz refresh rate there, but in the previous generation processor, there's no capability to achieve these higher frame per second to meet the refresh there. But thanks to Intel, that it's not only about the powerful processor inside, but also the powerful game boost technology such as XeSS3 MFG, multi-frame generation. When we combine this together and with the optimized drivers all together, suddenly, we can see, like F1 goes to over 100 FPS, hardware legacy over 100 FPS, even something very familiar benchmark games as Cyberpunk, easy to reach these kind of numbers. So this is really incredible, extremely good results that what can deliver to the market.
No, this is great. So it seems like this ARC-G processor has been a great fit for you guys when it comes to power, graphics, and all kinds of performance. So it's great.
Yes.
So one of the things that I noticed when I was holding it here in my hands, it was that you guys have done a lot of changes when it comes to the analog stick devices and also to the triggers. So I'm pretty excited. Let me know, can you tell us a little bit more on that?
Sure. So for this new devices, that we still insist that using the joystick and also the trigger and the what we call the Hall effect devices here to ensure it's precise, and also to do the highly consideration of this duration, as we know that we are the most frequently using on the gaming devices. One of them is a joystick, so we stick with the Hall effect design on that. And the second is about that when we check the difference between our device and also the Xbox controller, we found that about the D-pad there, the click feeling is totally quite different from Xbox controller and our device. So we also add some metal, what we call the metal dome.
Right.
So under this D-pad to ensure the click feeling is much better than the device what we had before. So I think this is for the most frequent using the button that we when we have the engineer samples, we also send this to a couple of the users, reviewers, to let them hold and then to see that if every button is easy to reach, easy to trigger, and to fit it in every gamer's needs what they want.
Yeah. It was pretty. Yeah, actually, when a minute ago, I was like holding it. And actually, it's easier for now. Now my ring fingers is a little bit easier to reach the buttons in the back. So I really like what you guys have done. But this device is not only for gaming, right? There's other things that you guys have been able to show that it can do.
Right.
So a little bit more like, I mean, it still has the power to a laptop.
Yeah. So starting from the first generation of the MSI core on the Intel Media Lake, actually we already pairing a Thunderbolt port inside of the system. Right. So in second generation, even in the third generation of cloud, that we are putting two Thunderbolt 4 port on it. In this way, that's which means that this system not only cover the handheld gaming, but when you want it to be linked to the display and hook all of the keyboard, mouse all together, it suddenly become your Copilot Plus PC.
Exactly.
So there's only one thing lack of, which is the webcam is not existing in this device.
Right.
Rest of others, which Copilot PC laptop can do, you can do that as well on this device. Yes.
Awesome. So for the people watching this, when can they actually purchase one of these?
All of the cloud right now is starting the production inside the factory. Okay. So we expect in the end of the June, that is able to show up on the market and start to sell.
No, this is great. Joseph, thank you so much. Appreciate it. Thank you for the device. I'll definitely take care of it, and I'll see you later.